I try to hit every cut, with a beat, but that sometimes doesn't happen, and that's
Yeah.
okay. That's something that I had to learn as well.
Can we talk about that process for a second? Hitting all the cuts with a beat. I worked with a guy years ago, and we would always we'd throw Pitcher up, and he would just kind of strum a guitar, not even really musically, and we would just try some tempos, and he would really pay attention to where things were hitting before him and his writing partner would even go open Logic in the other room and start writing. What's your process for trying to especially in ads? You got to land your sting in the right spot at the end. Are you working backwards? Are you just trying different tempos? Is it moving? How do you kind of hit those spots?
Well, it changes every time. I'll tell you the one from the last one that I landed. So basically, they provide a script, and there's some key points that need to happen. And at this point, there's no music. They just sent a some references, but there's nothing to look at. It's just there's some scribbles. It was just very bare. So what I do have it's gonna be, in this case it was 30 seconds. So I laid down on Pro Tools. I opened up the session and put some markers where I think it could land. I kind of spread them evenly apart. And then I know there was supposed to be a pause, and then at the end it needs to come in. So then I laid it down like that. It's okay. And I just start looking at the tempo and kind of moving it up and down until I can get a few, I try to do 16 bars, something like that that makes sense musically, and I'll start there. Because I know if I get 16 bars, that is something that I can work with.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I grab the guitar or the piano, and I just start strumming something. And then I just look as the timeline goes on. It's okay, here I can put that sync point that they want here, and then here. And then depending on the last one that I did, I just did it like that, and everything landed correctly. And the tempos. The thing with things like that, 30 seconds or 60 seconds, is that if you put it on 120 or something like that, a multiple of that, it will be perfectly, because that's
right.
It's by the second.
Yep.
So if you get it close to that, you will be guaranteed to land before the 30-second mark, or 60, or whatever numeral is.
Yeah.
So I did that, and it just, it just happens. And then, once we see the whole picture, there'll be adjustments to that. But then it doesn't really matter. They've already, in this case, they've already edited to your track that's already then, and then you just want, several adjustments to that.
Yeah.
But in other cases, it involves tempo mapping, and that can get a little crazy. But once it's set up, you get, it's there, and it's just kind of magical whenever it lands on with the picture, even though the tempos are going left and right, it's going crazy.
Yeah.
With the picture, it sounds completely fine.